They'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe.
A real American hero.
G.I. Joe's there. G.I. Joe Retaliation. So G.I. Joe Retaliation is a sequel that probably should have been a reboot, but it's a sequel to G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra, directed by Stephen Sommers. And if you remember, that was one of the first, I think it was the third video I ever did, third or fourth. Wasn't a fan, just wasn't a fan of that movie. It was a cheese fest. I get that it's supposed to be fun and based off a cartoon. Certainly could have been better though. But now we have G.I. Joe Retaliation, directed by a different guy, it's not directed by Stephen Sommers, and you can totally see and feel that in this movie. So G.I. Joe Retaliation stars The Rock. More or less stars The Rock. He has a couple people behind him, but it's The Rock. And if you remember at the end of G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, the president's now an imposter. He's not really the president. He's the mummy. And now the president orders the eradication of the G.I. Joes, and now The Rock, Lady J, who's hot, and some other dude who's not Channing Tatum now have to save the world. And then Snake Eyes is doing his thing with Storm Shadow, who I swore was dead in the first movie. They were like, come on, it's Storm Shadow. We gotta have him in the sequel. What's Snake Eyes going to do except be awesome if Storm Shadow's not in it? And now we have a G.I. Joe movie that's more like the G.I. Joe movie I wanted to see the first time, but still isn't really perfect. I'm not asking a G.I. Joe movie to be perfect, but at least be a great G.I. Joe movie. This movie is enjoyable. It's popcorn fun. You have the Cobras who have now taken control of the White House, but not in that Olympus has fallen kind of way, although they do have a thing called Zeus. Apparently Olympus is a big thing this year when it comes to the White House. The movie, a lot better than G.I. Joe Retaliation, still does have its problems. First of all, the movie slows down halfway through the movie. You're like, all right, yeah, sweet, popcorn movie. It's G.I. Joe. It's all cool. Things are blowing up. Then the movie slows down, but not in that story-based kind of way, in that messy, convoluted kind of way. The Rock has to find out what's going on. Then it goes over to Snake Eyes, who's separated from the Joes, but he's on his own quest. Everyone seems separated, and you're like, hey, focus. All of this is happening because they had to force Storm Shadow in the movie to give Snake Eyes relevance. If that didn't happen, I would argue that the movie would actually be better as a whole. Other than the fact that Lady J is hot as hell in this movie. They have this guy who's just, he's a guy. What has he done? What did he do in this movie? He could have saved the entire world. I still would not be able to tell you exactly what this guy did. He's that forgettable, and at that point, I argue that it should have just been Channing Tatum playing Duke again. At least we're kind of attached to him at this point, and Channing Tatum as an actor has grown, so why not? Which, yeah, this movie was postponed like over half a year. They said it was to convert it into 3D, which I argue, really. Or it was to put a couple new scenes with Channing Tatum in the movie, in which he still gets written out of the movie pretty early on, and the converted 3D is pretty useless. Not that it's bad. It's not like Clash of the Titans where it hurts your eyes. It's just almost unnoticeable. Just makes you question. You're like, why did this all happen? From an objective point of view, I just argue that the male character in the movie that's not The Rock should have been Duke. Cobra Commander's pretty cool in the movie. The other Cobra Commander in the other movie wasn't Cobra Commander, and even when he became Cobra Commander, you're like, that's not Cobra Commander. At least this time around, he looks like Cobra Commander, he talks like Cobra Commander, he acts like Cobra Commander, he's Cobra Commander. Destro's not in the movie at all. Why? I don't know. Destro's always been a really cool G.I. Joe character to me. Even if he is just there to stand next to Cobra Commander, would have been cool to have him in the movie. That's pretty much what he did in the cartoon anyway. Just stood there with his metal head and you're like, he's cool. He has a metal head. He's like Zordon with a body. How is that not awesome? The story-based moments in the movie, the story arcs, seem a little forced at times. The movie itself seems messy and kind of choppy. Then they throw explosions at you and action scenes to make you forget all that, which you do while it's happening. Bruce Willis was fine in the movie, but again, you feel like they just brought Bruce Willis on for the sake of Bruce Willis being in this movie. They're like, we need someone. Bruce, come on. And the movie's a lot more down to earth, and that's what I wanted to see in the first movie, is that they don't have those weird Mega Man outfits. The G.I. Joe base isn't some underground Technodrome base that you have to use the modules from Ninja Turtles to get to. It's a base that's on the surface that can conveniently get wiped out now. I'll say the movie is enjoyable enough, but I'm not going to go out there to see it again. I think what's going to happen with this movie is called rule of contrast. Know that phrase. What rule of contrast is things might not be so bad when they're first compared to something that's worse. Example, you go to the car dealership. They show you the $25,000 car first, and you're like, I don't know about the $25,000 car. And they're like, well, we do have this $20,000 car. You're like, oh, that's $5,000 cheaper. I'll take that. If they opened with the $20,000 car, you wouldn't have bought anything. See what I mean? Rule of contrast. That's what G.I. Joe Retaliation is. Because the movie is going to be compared in the minds of people to G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra, which was not good, G.I. Joe Retaliation is going to seem a lot better than it actually is. So is the movie enjoyable? Yes, in that simple popcorn flick kind of way. Is G.I. Joe Retaliation good? Well, when compared to G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra, yes. As a movie in and of itself, it's enjoyable, but I don't care if I ever see it again, so that kind of speaks for itself. But G.I. Joe Retaliation as a whole, I would say, would probably be a good time if you're drunk. Yeah, now it's a party of real American heroes. America. But I do say that as a positive. It's like, yeah, it'd be fun if you're drunk. Not like it's fun if you're drunk, maybe. If you're gonna see it at matinee. That's what I'm saying. All right, so have you seen G.I. Joe Retaliation? What's your favorite G.I. Joe character of all time? We're talking anything. everything, any lore whatsoever. Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.